I love what Warren Buffett once said, risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. So do your research, do your due diligence. Taking on risk, though, is the only way to truly achieve financial freedom. Hi, this is Tina Merryman with American Flip House. Welcome to this week's vlog. I apologize that I can't look into your eyes, but it is really bright out here, so we're gonna have to do it this way, okay? This week on the vlog, we're talking about using home equity, a home equity loan, as an asset rather than just a liability. So let's take maybe you, for example. Perhaps you've built up some beautiful equity in your residence, your primary residence where you and your family live, and you've considered, should I sit on it, or should I spend it, or should I maybe leverage it? So mortgage rates have been on the rise lately. We've had some, this is in August 2019 at the time of filming this, and we just got some good news with the banks offering some good interest rates. But you know, whether they've been on the rise or dropping because people think the stock market's gonna crash or whatever the reason is, either way, they are still lower than they've been throughout most of our nation's history. So that, combined with the fact that for right now, property values are increasing, we'll see how long that lasts, at least in the United States, you may be considering taking advantage of it. So the middle class mentality, that poor dad mentality, tends to visualize a home equity loan as a brand new master suite or an in-ground pool or a finished basement with a nice sweet bar and a Sony PlayStation. Well, that's wonderful, by the way, and I hope that you'll invite us at American Flip House. We would love to enjoy it with you. And if this is your forever home, by all means, add value to it. But that does tend to be a middle-class mentality when you look at those things and you look at using home equity to purchase those things, to make those changes. The affluent tend to save up and spend it on a planned things. They don't just take out a line of credit and put all the money into their residence and then strip all the equity from their house. They'll pay cash, it'll be planned out, and they will make the improvements to their home as they go. The middle class mentality tends to strip themselves of their equity and just use it and take their equity down to nothing instead of leveraging it. So this blog is about just kind of opening your mind, if it hasn't been yet, to the idea of building up your asset column with your home equity rather than just your liability column. So, like I said, if it's your forever home, by all means, you know, a value add to it. Just if you want to be affluent, financially free, it's better to plan it out, to save for it, and be able to pay cash for those changes and improvements to your home. But maybe you're one of those people who are affluent minded, the rich dad mentality, and you're focused on financial freedom, at least financial independence, and on building a legacy. So maybe you want some more insight on leveraging your home equity loan and not just spending it. One thing, for example, home equity loans can actually be used to invest in a business venture. For example, think of Beyonce, who recently I saw a video about, she was an initial investor in Uber, I believe, and Uber asked that their initial investors use equity only and not cash to invest in their new company. So something else, you can also use home equity for real estate, which is why we're here. We do buy and sell, fix and flip. You can do home equity that way, or for buy and hold, long-term real estate. The whole idea of using home equity, a home equity loan for an investment, is to eventually generate a profit from the venture that would exceed the cost of the loan. You want to keep in mind that the cost of the loan will also include interest rates, closing costs, bank fees, all of those things you get slapped with during the transaction. Some people even use a home equity loan for debt consolidation. You're actually just replacing one kind of debt with a less expensive kind of debt. So not a bad idea. Essentially, you're coming out ahead if debt consolidation is something that maybe you have to face. When you're taking out a home equity loan, though, to use for a venture or investment, as with any opportunity, you know, where you're eventually gonna get more, that's the idea, you have to take risks. So I want to skim over some things that you should make sure you're assessing depending on your specific situation. So let's say you're considering using a home equity loan to invest. First of all, when you're building a legacy, when you're looking to invest, you have to get out of that middle class mindset. You always have to do your due diligence. You know, you have to to know what you're getting into. You want to have a good team behind you. You want to pay the money for the good attorney and all of that. I love what Warren Buffett once said, risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. So do your research, do your due diligence. Taking on risk, though, is the only way to truly achieve financial freedom. So whether you're starting a company or investing in someone else's company, investing in real estate, that's true financial freedom. You're not just buying a lottery ticket every week and hoping to hit the big one. So do your research, understand the opportunity, but take those risks. As long as you're prepared and you get educated, you're essentially lowering your risk factor. I love to tell people when they're a little, perhaps a novice investor, they haven't done this before. Jimmy Carter once said, go out on a limb. That's where the good fruit is. What a great quote to keep in your mind when you feel boggled down about the decisions for investing or becoming financially free. The middle class, or that poor dad mentality, as Robert Kiyosaki kind of coined phrased, they would never go out on a limb. That trunk of security is where it's at, and you never stray away from that. But financial freedom requires that you climb the tree, and then once you have to take the branch, that veers off the path, that isn't as supported, where you don't always know exactly what's going to happen. But when you do your research, you're going to know where to place your hands and feet when you're away from that status quo trunk of stability, when you've branched off, when you're reaching and finally grabbing those blossoms and the sweetest fruits. Something really important to consider before you use a home equity loan toward an investment is something like your credit score, which, as you probably know, is determined by many factors. So the higher your credit score, the lower your interest rate will be, and the less time it will take to start turning a profit from whatever you're initially investing in. Basically, it won't be as hard to grow your investment when you're paying less in interest rates. You have to consider the timeline for your investment to start performing, to start turning a profit. Everyone considers buy and hold real estate as the dream. Land and houses tend to appreciate in value the longer you hold them, and they allow you to create a monthly income structure. Keep in mind, though, that buy and hold investment with your home equity is going to take longer in terms of regaining that initial output. So if you're okay with keeping that initial portion of money you put in, with keeping it out for a while, that's great, because you're going to be making money off of it. It's just don't expect to see that chunk for a while. But the money you're going to make off of it is way more than the bank can sing about, that's for sure. Remember, with any kind of long-term investment like this, like with real estate, you're still going to have to carry the expense of the home equity loan as well. So, a lot of our novice and savvy investors, they love going in on our fix and flip properties because the return is so quick. They use this strategy for all kinds of things. For year-to-year planning, whether it's kids going through college, trips they want to take, that's their vacation money for the year, or they are using it to build up their savings, whatever it is, whether it's somebody new or, we have one of our investors who's involved in many of our projects. He's been investing longer than I've been alive, I think, and he invests in our fix and flips. Let's touch really quickly on taxes, everyone's favorite thing to talk about. When you use a home equity loan in that traditional sense, like making home improvements or even buying or building a new home, you may be able to reduce the interest you pay toward the home equity loan, especially if you're filing as a couple. So joint filing will really help lower that. But keep in mind, there are laws that are going to prohibit any borrowers to take itemized tax deductions for interest on a mortgage that is used to make other investments. So it's different if you're using it towards something besides that, that home build or that home improvement. So that's not our favorite rule either, but there are some other great ways to use your home equity. A lot of people use it for education, college courses, to get involved in different school and career paths. And then there's also the option, as I touched on a minute ago, of starting up a new business or investing in someone else's startup. Many new startup companies will ask their initial investors to use equity rather than cash as an investment. So for them, it's kind of like a guarantee that money will be there to support them for a while, because when an investor puts equity in a project, they're usually going to keep it in for at least like 10 years in order to avoid capital gains tax. Some people actually choose to use home equity toward investing in the stock market as well. So there's so many options, but if you're headed toward affluence or you are affluent, you want to think of using your home equity as leverage, not just something sitting in the liability column of your financial statement. Contact us at AmericanFlipHouse.com and learn more about leveraging your home equity to invest in one of our fix and flip properties. Remember, knowledge is power. At American Flip House, we help others build a legacy by reinvesting in America, and we hope to hear from you soon.